Good evening, and welcome to World Showcase. Tonight we are pleased to present a visual journey, an international fantasy of music and light.
You boys can't catch me. Why, my laughing place is where I'm bound.
When the Sage of Time first walked upon the earth, the nations of the world were one human family.
Right now, we're leaving the world of today behind. So if your imagination is ready, here we go.
WDW Radio, your information station.
Hello and welcome back to the WDW Radio Show, your Walt Disney World information station. I'm your host, Lou Mongello, and this is show number 84 for the week of September 14th, 2008. I'll kick off this week's show with some news and rumors from Walt Disney World, and then I'm going to take you back on a brief trip to Walt Disney World with me as I look at some highlights from my recent trip. Not a day-by-day trip report per se, but more looking at some experiences I had that you might not have known exist in and out of the parks. From there, I left the joys of a No Way Jose at Beaches and Cream and headed out onto the high seas for a special 5-day cruise aboard the Disney Magic. In addition to a scheduled 2 days at Castaway Cay, this voyage was even more magical, as it was hosted by Deb Wills and Steve Barrett and featured great events and one surprise after another. So, I invited the hosts to join me this week to recap the cruise and talk about some of the magic on the Magic. And the time has finally come. We are down to the final 3 in the Adventureland Challenge contest, and the finalists join me on the show this week to answer a series of questions so you can help decide who will be crowned the ultimate adventurer and win the grand prize of the 6-day VIP vacation for 4 to Walt Disney World. There's more at the end of the show, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show. In this week's Walt Disney World news, the 13th annual Epcot International Food and Wine Festival, in addition to just being the best place and time to enjoy great culinary delights from around the world, is going to kick off a small change to the Disney dining experience this year. The festival is going to celebrate Cities in Wonderland, and following that theme, the Disney Dining Experience Club is going to be renamed Tables in Wonderland as of September 15th, 2008. None of the benefits of having the card are going to change, but it does seem to be done in order to remove any confusion with the Disney Dining Plan, which is an add-on to the Magic Your Way ticket package. All right, so now that you've eaten to your heart's content over at the Food and Wine Festival, it's time to walk or run it off, so why not at the Walt Disney World Marathon? Okay, so the half marathon is sold out, and I was just about to register, I promise. But this week, the health service company Cigna was named the presenting sponsor of the Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend in both 2009 and 2010. The Marathon Weekend, which attracts more than 80,000 people, including participants and spectators from all over the world, is one of the largest events held in Central Florida, and having done it last year, the half marathon that is, I can tell you, is one of the greatest experiences I ever had in Walt Disney World. About 45,000 runners are going to compete in the Marathon Weekend events, which include the full marathon, the half marathon, the Family Fun Run 5K, and the kids races. Now, the half marathon obviously is 13.1 miles. That takes you from Epcot to the Magic Kingdom, then back to Epcot for the finish. On Sunday of the weekend, the 26.2-mile full marathon goes through all 4 Walt Disney World theme parks, and then that also finishes back in Epcot. As part of the weekend's festivities, there's also the Walt Disney World Health and Fitness Expo. That's going to be held next year from January 8th through the 10th, 2009 at Disney's Wide World of Sports Complex. As I said, the 2009 half marathon is currently sold out, but if you're interested in participating in 2010, or if you still want to try and run in the full marathon in 2009, I think you still can go register. Either way, for more information, you can go and visit DisneySports.com. Not a lot of big news this week, so we're going to jump right into the Walt Disney World rumor mill where the old Soren is a changin' rumor is back again for about the 10,000th time. It seems that the rumors of it changing from Soren over California to a more worldwide theme have once again resurfaced, with the rumors saying that the film on both coasts, Disneyland and Walt Disney World, will change next year. Again, of course, this is just a rumor. The new rumored Disney Fairies Room in the Toontown Hall of Fame over in the Magic Kingdom seems to be under construction, as the Disney Pals Room in the Hall of Fame has been closed recently. I've also been told of permit filings that mention, quote, the Toontown Princess/Fairies queue modifications. Now, as a result of the Pals Room closing, I've also been told that you may start to be able to find Pluto in Town Square, Goofy near the exit of Splash Mountain, and possibly Donald Duck in Frontierland in his full Pioneer garb. Now, I did mention a few weeks ago that due to what apparently seemed to be cutbacks, the 4 for $1 pre-show performers at Beauty and the Beast were going to leave permanently as of September 20th. I've also come to hear that they may not be the only groups who have or will be retired. From what I understand, Inkoswasi and the Karuka Acrobats in Africa in Disney's Animal Kingdom have been retired effective as of September 1st, and the Main Street Family Fun Day Parade is going to end its run officially on September 27th. Orisi Risi, the African performers in World Showcase, have been retired effective August 30th, and also in World Showcase, and forgive me for butchering the name, Spelman's Gledge, the Norwegian folk group on the date, has also been retired as well. I'm going to miss looking for and watching guests interact with Wes Palm. He's the walking and talking, or rolling and talking palm tree over in Disney's Animal Kingdom. He is rumored to have been retired as of the 1st of September as well. And once again, mentioning what I spoke about previously, Woody's Cowboy Camp is going to have its last hoedown in Frontierland on September 27th. Now, I have to just give a quick editorial and say that I'm really saddened by this, as it's this type of free, interactive entertainment that I really enjoyed seeing, and more importantly, watched other guests and adults and kids alike enjoy as well. So hopefully they will either return or maybe be replaced by other types of performers. And hey, if you want to bring back JP and the Silver Stars to Adventureland, you'll have one happy podcaster, I assure you. But that's it. That's all I have this week as far as news and rumors go. Again, if you want to discuss anything, head on over to the forums at DisneyWorldTrivia.com, or if you have news or rumors that you want to share, or if you want to comment and be on the show, you can call the voicemail at 206-202-4WDW. That's 206-202-4939, or send me an email to lou@WDWradio.com. After my trips to Walt Disney World, I don't normally do trip reports per se on the show, but this week you have to indulge me just a little bit, because this trip for me was really unlike any other that I've taken in the past, and I promise not to ramble too much on about every little place I ate, and you know me, there were lots of great places I ate, I can assure you, but there were a few things that I wanted to highlight for you, and then discuss the second half of my trip in just a little bit more detail. But for me, this trip was so much the complete opposite side of the spectrum from any of my quote-unquote research trips. Because in fact, I really vowed that for as long as I could, I wouldn't be shushing my kids on rides as I was trying to record ambient audio, and would actually take pictures of my wife and kids, and not construction walls or signs or yet another crate, although I did take some, I promise. I would just kind of enjoy the parks the way Walt wanted it, which is with my family, and true to my word, okay, except for that last day when I did find a couple of new, very cool crates that I did post in my blog, I did just that, and I have to say, it was the best vacation I've ever taken to Walt Disney World or anywhere. And again, the experiences were obviously very personal for me, but I'm sure a lot of you have experienced them for yourself over and over again, whether it's the look on my daughter's face when she sees a princess that's waiting to take some pictures, or my son who now gets wide-eyed because he's fully aware of exactly where Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin is located in the park. Although now we can no longer lie to him when we're heading towards Adventureland, telling him we're going towards Buzz Lightyear because he knows where it is. He's now dragging us towards the attraction. And honestly, that lump that I still get in my throat when my daughter asks to sit next to me on Peter Pan's flight, and that look of just sheer joy on my wife's face as the spa doors open. No, really the look on her face when she's watching our kids eating and subsequently wearing a Mickey bar during Illuminations. But like I said, rather than sharing that with you, what I wanted to do was share just a couple of things that I took away from the trip and I found myself very, very happy with afterwards. And for the first couple of days of our trip, which was sort of an add-on to the cruise that was our sort of main vacation, we stayed in Pop Century, and I will once again argue that I believe it is far and away the best of the value resorts. And that's not to take anything away from any of the All-Stars, but Pop is just on a whole nother level in my opinion, whether it's the rooms, the theming, the amenities, the classic hall, the food court. The pools are just wonderful, and my family really loves that resort. My kids especially have such a good time there. We spent some time, and really for the first time I have to admit, at the pool during the middle of the day a couple of times. My kids just love the splash pool and the big pool, and so did we. We really had a nice time there. We walked into the food court over at Classic Hall. Breakfast and lunch that we had there a number of times were great. There's a lot of different choices. There's the bakery and the grill and the pizza and the pastas, all different kinds of stations in the food court. A nice variety of choices for all of us. The service was good. The cast members were exceptionally nice. A night for me, honestly, spent in the arcade playing Defender and other old school games and just chatting in a booth long after everything Pop had closed were just a couple of those simple pleasures and some of the real highlights for me of the trip. And like I said, we were there from Wednesday to Friday before moving over to the beach club. And okay, I like Pop a lot, but man, I love the beach club. And I will save my full review of that resort for another time and another segment. But here's just a little bit about why I loved it, and not just in the past, but really on this trip in particular. And okay, location, sure, but there's so much more that it offers that we finally took advantage of. And yes, when I say location, I may have subtly been hinting at its proximity to Beaches and Cream in addition to Epcot and the studios, but really, you're so close to those two parks. It is just fantastic. But why we really enjoyed the resort, specifically on this trip, was for two reasons. The one day that we took entirely off from the parks, which was the day before the cruise, we spent it over at Stormalong Bay, and the other was something that we did at night. And I've said it, and I'll continue to believe that Stormalong Bay is not only the best pool on property, but arguably a water park in and of itself. And I won't go into the specifics again here, because I did cover it on the show before. It ranked as really a best of the best. I did that back on show 21. I encourage you to go back, listen to just what it offers and why it really is that good. But one of the big reasons that we enjoyed Beach Club on this trip was because of something that I think most guests either don't know about or simply don't take advantage of. And for example, one night after enjoying an awesome burger and even better No Way Jose at Beaches and Cream, we walked out onto the beach, we looked across Crescent Lake at the beautiful views of the boardwalk, and then we picked up a stick and roasted marshmallows and made s'mores. And no, security didn't come and whisk me away, because this is something Disney does on most nights from 8 to 9 o'clock. And there's a real campfire, and there's cast members there, and there's lots of kids and adults. And although I didn't partake, rumor has it, even a little sing-along goes on there as well. But I watched my kids toast marshmallows, and then I sat back on a lounge chair to watch Enchanted on a big screen. And yes, I'm still at the beach when I'm doing this, because again, most nights after the campfire or kind of while it's still going along, there's a movie Under the Stars, and it's on this huge inflatable screen right there on the beach. And yes, of course, it's free. One night was Enchanted, another night was National Treasure 2, another had Toy Story 2, Monsters, Inc., Finding Nemo. It was simply awesome. And my kids played on the sand and ran around and made some friends. My wife and I and another friend of mine laid back. We got a drink from Hurricane Hannah's, and I guess sort of how appropriate that name was for that week, and just kind of sat back and watched the movie for a while. And it was one of those simple pleasures that was simply so memorable. And the point of this is that places like the Beach Club have so much more to offer both during the day and at night. And you might not know that they have, and again, this is free, people, pool parties, ping pong tournaments, Disney trivia contests, name that tune, so much more that goes on. There's also inexpensive activities like t-shirt decorating, bingo for $1, the Albatross cruise for kids, so much more. And of course, did I mention that the marina is right there as well? And there's pontoon boats and water mice and, oh yeah, a little hidden treasure that they like to call Breathless too. And I have to say, if you want the ride of your life, head on over, take a spin with Captain Mike on Breathless. I promise you, it'll make for one of those incredibly memorable and magical experiences you won't soon forget. But really the point of this sort of mini trip report was just to let you know that there is so much more to Walt Disney World. I say this all the time, than just the parks and the attractions. And I was really, really happy to be able to take part in so many of these with my family. And things like the haircuts they got on Main Street, and the fact that my daughter didn't want to wash that pixie dust out of her hair for God knows how long. And, you know, just trying on funny hats with them at the House of Treasure and waiting at the Crystal Palace just a little bit longer so they can take yet another picture with Tigger. And I'm not sure if I mentioned the No Way Jose, but it really was a wonderful trip. And like I said, I'll cover the Beach Club in more detail and some of the other resorts and the things that they offer. But definitely when you check in and when you stay on property, check with the front desk and ask for a list of activities, because I'm sure there's probably a lot more going on there than you may realize. But like I said, this trip was really for me to spend some true quality time with my wife and kids. So after we said goodbye to the Beach Club on Monday morning, we headed off to Port Canaveral to spend 5 days aboard the Disney Magic. And you're saying to yourself, wait, 5 days? And yes, unlike a 3, 4, or 7 day cruise, this one was special. And it was special not just for the 2 days in Castaway Cay, but because it was really going to be including some of my very best friends from the online community. And it was the appropriately titled Deb and Steve Cruise, as was hosted by two very special people, Deb Wills from allears.net and everyone's favorite Hidden Mickey's hunter, good doctor Steve Barrett from hiddenmickey'sguide.com, who's also a frequent guest on the show. So rather than me just kind of bore you with my mundane details about the trip, I'll invite them to come on it and help me do it with you. So I'm kidding, of course, but really, how can I talk about such a special cruise without having the hosts and my friends come on to talk about it with me? So it's my pleasure to welcome the lovely and talented, and still the winner of the best Olu ever, Deb Wills.
Hi, Lou. Thanks so much for inviting me to be here today.
Thank you for coming, Deb. And Steve, Dr. Hidden Mickey's back to the show. Great to have you guys back here again.
Always good to be with you, Lou.
First off, I have to say a huge thanks, not just for the cruise, but for whatever you guys did to take care of Hurricane Hannah and Gustav, because I guess you and you know, in true Disney fashion, they were pretty much able to control the weather, which was something we worried about, and my mother called me every 15 minutes about it before the cruise. So,
well, I was very impressed with the way the captain and the crew handled everything about the weather. The day we got on the ship, as you know, they had told us at the port they were going to swap out our Nassau and Sea Day, and we all were sort of joking about how it was the magical, mystical cruise to who knows where. And some of us even thought we'd be at sea for 5 days, which would have been just fine. But the captain managed to navigate his way around the storms, thanks to, of course, technology, and It was an amazing time, and we really were only impacted for about 12 hours on Friday. Otherwise, they did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I agree. You know, this was my third cruise ever, and what brought home to me, Lou, was how incredibly well put together these ships are. I mean, they I think they can handle just about anything. These ships are amazing. You know, and probably ship technology advances just as any science advances. Every new ship that's built is going to have more and more features to make it safe. So I was very impressed with the ship and absolutely with the captain and crew as well.
I am as well, but I will tell you the same thing that I told you as we were getting on the ship. I didn't care if I got on that ship and sat in Port Canaveral for 5 days, or if we just went around in circles at sea, because I just wanted to be on the ship. And you're right, Deb, we had very little impact except save for the 3 o'clock in the morning one night and then a little bit of rain on the last day. But other than that, I mean, we had... Please convince my mother we had smooth sailing and great weather for most of the time. So, but really, I guess we can kind of go backwards a little bit, because things kind of got kicked off. And again, we keep talking about special things that happened in a great way, because you guys hosted a very unique dinner in and at the American Adventure Pavilion. Tell us a little bit about the dinner, because that was really something special.
Well, we've been planning this cruise for well over a year now. And actually, Steve and I have been talking about it, and we started talking with Becky of Mass Fan Travel about organizing a group cruise probably about a year and a half ago. And one of the things we wanted to do as the cruise started to get more on everybody's radar screen was try and start something off on land. There were some informal groups folks had set up on their own. There was a very well-attended breakfast at Fort Wilderness a Sunday morning, and we wanted to do something extra special for people to get them in the mood for the magic. So Becky arranged to have a private buffet dinner in the American Adventure Atrium, the place where you see the Voices of Liberty sing, and that amazing building that just represents so much of American history. It was a phenomenal night. Everybody walked in with smiles on their faces. They left with smiles on their faces. And Becky surprised us by setting up a special private illuminations dessert party area as well. So the night was a special magical night, and we just had a great time.
Yes, anytime you can experience a piece of Disney, such as a pavilion, as a private party, and be inside the pavilion, in this case the rotunda there, it was just an amazing experience to me. It showed me even more of the magic that Disney can bring about.
Yeah,
Steve, did you get a chance to go up to the third floor in the pavilion?
No, I didn't.
Early on, I needed to use a restroom, and the cast member escorted me up to the third floor, and it looked like what you might imagine the White House might look like back in the time period, with the fireplaces and the furniture and the rooms. And I had wished that I was able to spend more time up there. It was just gorgeous, and apparently they do a number of special events up there as well.
Yeah, and this was just kind of the beginning of a lot of those little surprises along the way. And before anybody emails me saying that they're mad that we closed down the American Adventure Pavilion, I will tell you that other than the guests not being able to go through the Rotunda and the Hall of Flags, we did not close down the show. The show was still open for guests to see until the park closed. So
that's right.
I don't want anybody getting mad. And if you do get mad at Deb and Steve, not me. So.
If you do get mad, next time, sign up for the event.
There you go. But, like I said, I was so looking forward to this cruise, and not just for the 2 days in Castaway Cay, and also, obviously, to see both of you, but there were so many people that we both have known in the past from the Disney community, and because of all the new friends that you get to meet along the way, and this trip is no different. Obviously, one of the real big benefits of cruising on the Disney Cruise Line, I think.
Oh, I agree. Over the years, as you and Deb have probably experienced, you get to know people in your community and see them once or twice a year, or more if you're lucky. And it's just great seeing these what are now to me old friends on the cruise, and and also to meet new folks that are joining the communities. It's just a wonderful pleasure for me.
It's an amazing experience that differs so much from events on land, because on the cruise ship, and we really have found this out with the Mouse Fest cruise, you really get to spend face time with people. And it's not meeting 500 people in the course of 2 hours or 3 hours, and then later you're struggling to remember their name. You're actually getting time to talk and enjoy aspects of the cruise with people. And there are folks that I've met the very first MouseFest cruise who now have become very dear friends, and we travel and vacation together outside of Disney. And it's just an amazing experience. And as Steve mentioned, every time you're on a cruise, you meet new people that just, you're like, wow, and they become friends too. And it's the ever-expanding network of Disney fans, but also people who become your friends as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, Deb. I led 5 Hidden Mickey tours on the cruise at different times during the 3 or 4 days that we were on the ship. And these were really small, intimate tours with anywhere from 4 to 10 people generally. And that's a really great way to meet folks. I mean, I was able to have an hour with these people and get to know them a lot better. So, the cruise is a more intimate experience for sure than a lot of the land events we do.
One of the things that we did too, we had a hospitality room that embarkation day, and we asked everyone to please come by. I filtered through at one point in the day. Steve, I'm sure, probably filtered through at one point in the day, and the agents from Mouse Fan Travel were there. We gave out lanyards, red lanyards with the Deb and Steve Cruise logo on them, so that all our fellow cruisers could identify each other as well. And we also had a special navigator that we published. Navigator, for those of you who haven't been on a cruise yet, is your daily itinerary of what's happening on the ship. It lists everything from the kids' activities all the way to the adult and late night activities. But we had special navigators dedicated just to the Deb and Steve cruise events. So folks really enjoyed seeing those red lanyards, and they were able to say, hey, you're cruising with Steve and Deb. Yeah, we haven't met yet. And it enabled people another way to network and get to know each other.
And recall the fish extenders outside of all of our doors. And every day, I was amazed. I was amazed at what the guests that came along with us would create and come up with to put in the extenders every morning. I mean, I'm sure all of us came back with a bag full of wonderful little trinkets and gifts. Very creative folks.
Yeah, we should explain what a fish extender is for people that are saying, wait a minute, you have a fish extender outside your door.
There you go, yeah. Yeah, it's every door has a fish stuck on the wall, and an extender is something that hangs from the fish that has pockets in it. And into the pockets, your friends or fellow cruisers can place gifts and trinkets and something to. It's like getting a present every day.
It is, absolutely.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, and this is probably where I should, start off by saying a big thanks not just to you guys, but obviously to Becky and her team from Mouse Fan Travel, because a lot of the events and a lot of these surprises and special things that took place were thanks to them. Also, big thanks for putting all that candy in my fish extender every night. My kids really appreciate it. They'll be sleeping at Camp Annette next year as opposed to bouncing around my cabin until 12 o'clock at night. But, on a general scale, and again, I really want to do sort of a full Disney Cruise Line show, and like I covered with Disneyland, almost why every Disney World fan needs to go on a Disney cruise, because that's one of the benefits that you guys touched on before is we're all of sort of like-minded people. We all enjoy Disney. So even if you guys go solo, even if you go without kids, and a lot of people just go as couples, you are definitely going to make and meet new friends, not just on the ship, but like you guys said, friends that are going to extend beyond just the 3, 4, 5, 7 days that you spend on board.
Correct, and especially the kids. The kids areas are on the boat and on Castaway Cay are amazing. I know, Lou, your kids had a lot of fun in their kids areas, right?
When my kids actually wanted to spend time with me, as opposed to staying in the Oceaneers Club or doing stuff on Castaway Cay, you're right. And that's one of the reasons why we love it. And I admit that I am still way too overprotective of my daughter but the Oceaneers Club is the only place that I still feel 100% comfortable and confident letting her go in there with people that I really don't know, with those cast members who are just wonderful, because I know she's safe. I know she can't go anywhere. I know security is, over the top, and there's no chance of her kind of disappearing somewhere. And she has such a good time, makes so many new friends. And we made friends because of the relationships that my daughter and son made in the Oceaneers Club.
That's wonderful.
And it was nice to have some adult time, I have to admit. So, and by adult time, I mean walking around on deck. That's so. Let's be clear.
Right. We understand.
So we started the cruise off in true Disney fashion with some events, like I mentioned, the hospitality room, and we also got to have our guests tour a 2-bedroom and a 1-bedroom suite so they could see those things. We had a huge Bon Voyage party on Deck 10, and there's nothing like celebrating to Disney music and with Disney characters like celebrating with your friends and fellow cruisers. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Every day had something that you can go to, and the beauty of this was that there were events going on throughout the day, but you didn't have to attend any or all. You can kind of pick and choose what you want because there is so much else going on the cruise. But you're right, there were so many occasions, Deb, that we could get together as a group and do different things on board.
Yes, there were very few things that actually we had to have RSVPs for. The suites tour, which I just mentioned. Of course, Steve's Hidden Mickey tours, because you don't want 50 people walking around together on the ship, would impact the other guests a little bit. But just about everything else that we did, people could come and go as they please. We had early morning coffee meets up in Cove Cafe. We would do lounging meets in the evening before the early and the late dinner seating. There were a number of things that were just very relaxing, and if you wanted to do that, you were welcome to stop by and join the fun.
Lou, did you have an occasion to admire some of the door decorations? I mean, some of our guests really got into decorating their doors.
I was going to say, you guys decided to have a door decorating contest, and I'm happy I didn't even try, because some of those doors were incredibly impressive.
Amazing.
The creativity and the time that they spent doing their doors was wonderful.
It's a really unique thing about the Disney cruises, and I don't know when this started, but it's been going on for a long time, where people will take magnets, because the doors are metal, and put designs and photos and Disney characters and all kinds of things on their doors. And so one of the things that we started doing a few years ago with the Mouse Fest cruise was doing a door decorating contest. So Steve and I talked, and we decided, we want to do a Deb and Steve cruise door decorating contest. And people the doors were judged based on incorporating our cruise logo and also Hidden Mickeys. And I've got to say, it was really tough coming up with 5 finalists for the door decorations.
Right. Deb and I judged or looked at all the doors separately, and then we got together, and luckily our top 10 list pretty much agreed.
They did.
And so it was because some of the doors really stood out with creativity and the wow factor and just the beauty of some of these designs.
Yeah, and I think one of the other highlights for people, and they, like you said, they had so many different occasions they could do it with you, was going on an actual Hidden Mickey, not even a tour, really a Hidden Mickey hunt with you on board. And I think there's nothing better than to go and discover Hidden Mickeys, obviously, with the man himself.
Well, doing a Hidden Mickey tour anywhere in any Disney property is just one of the real pleasures of my life. And so when I first got on the boat, the ship, the first day, I went around for 2 or 3 hours on my own, because I'd never been on the Magic before. And I had an idea where some of the Hidden Mickeys were, because people email me to my website and my email about various Hidden Mickey sightings. So I had a list of Hidden Mickeys I was looking for, and I went through all the decks myself and found most of them. But I'm telling you, on all of the 5 tours that I led, we found new Hidden Mickeys, the guests. They just with their sharp eyes. It was just amazing. And we ended up with a list of about, depending on how you count them, 45 to 50 hidden Mickeys on the Disney Magic.
Oh, that's awesome,
Wow.
Steve.
Right.
And I know you did a wrap up on the last full day of the cruise, and it was really fascinating for me since I didn't get to go on any of the specific tours. But it was really fascinating to see all the hidden Mickeys that you all discovered, and the hidden Donalds in the sand pail. I like that too.
Yeah. So some of my favorite hidden Mickeys were in some of the pictures and paintings that are hanging on the walls, and then the various murals around the ship. But there's some, for example, there's a series of 10 pictures on deck 5 forward, and some of my favorite images are in there. For example, on the picture hanging to the far left, there's a very long queue line for coffee, and I don't know, maybe 100 or 200 people are standing in line. It's curving around. But if you look closely, you see Goofy and Dopey in line too. So, I love images like that because I know the artist is having fun with it and is hiding Disney characters, that are not easy to see. And that just really gives me a thrill when I find images like that.
Well, you definitely can't mention the Disney Cruise Line without mentioning something else specifically, and I'm just going to throw this word out, and then you guys take it and run. Palo.
Yes.
And here's another special thing that working with a travel agency, what Mouse Fan Travel did with us, they were able to reserve the private dining room in Palo, which is the adult-only restaurant. And Steve and I were very grateful to be able to host a brunch with folks who were part of our cruise, and also a dinner. And these names were actually drawn out of a bucket at Fred Block's Magic Meets in July, and we podcasted it live, and it was just amazing because some of the folks who won were right in the room at Magic Meets, and they all came running over, and they were all excited, and so we got to see their excitement, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Oh, and the Palo food is unbelievable. Lou, I've been to Italy once, and I've heard a lot of things about Italy and the way they eat, and I know that sometimes the evening meals especially, last a long time, and you have any number of courses. Well, that's what Palo reminded me of, a classic Italian family type experience with lots of food, unbelievable, and it's great tasting food with lots of courses. I mean, you just no way to eat everything,
There's not at all. In fact, I think the brunch at Palo is probably one of the best food things you can do on the ship, because as Steve just mentioned, I mean, there's course after course. It's like the commercial. And wait, there's more. And every time you think you've seen everything that they could possibly offer, they're going to bring you to the next section and the next theme and tell you what else there is. So.
Yeah, and you're right about it just being one of those multi-hour. It's almost like Sunday dinner at the Mangello's house, but with better with better service and a lot less yelling. So
I don't know. I think, Steve, we need to go up to the Mangello house for dinner.
I'm there.
Okay.
You always have an open invitation, of course. Although the chocolate souffle, I promise, will not be as good as it is in Palo's. So
that's all right.
One of the other nights and things that I look forward to, and this one, again, I hate to keep saying it was even more special and plussed, but was Pirate Night. And there's so much going on just for the quote-unquote normal cruise, where everybody kind of gets dressed up and they do a lot of pirate-themed things, and there's a pirate party. But why don't you guys tell us a little about some of the things that took place during our kind of Pirate Night?
Well, your host dressed up. That's the first thing. Steve and I both wore some pirate garb. And then Steve can tell you a little bit more about what happened.
We had a pirate judging hour in Studio C. That was on Wednesday late afternoon. And the guests all came decked out in their costumes. And I'm telling you, I'm sure we have lots of photos that are going to show up on various websites, but it was hard to pick the winners. Deb and I voted. I think Annette too, or
Becky, I think, was sitting
Becky,
with us. Yeah.
Right. We're voting on the winners, and again, the costumes were just amazing, and some of the people were even in, I guess, in character. It's like acting like pirates. So it was very cool. It was very cool.
And another plus to doing the group cruise, we actually got to do that in one of the rooms. We were in Studio C, so that our group didn't impact with other folks on the ship, and we got to have our private little pirate gathering and celebration, and everybody did their R's and do photos. And then we went out and we were with all the rest of the cruisers. And one really cool thing about Pirate Night is the characters dress up. And you can get your picture, especially if you're in pirate gear, with characters, Pirate Stitch and Pirate Minnie, and Jack Sparrow's usually around for photos. So it's a great night for photo opportunities, as well as the party up on deck.
Yeah, and speaking of parties, I want to kind of almost sort of wrap things up with our final night and that final farewell party. But I have to take a quick aside and mention formal night, because formal night is wonderful. Everybody gets dressed up. The food is nice. The service is great. Well, that was Thursday night, and that was opening night of football season, and I'm going somewhere with this. I told my waiter, I says, buddy, I got to be out of here by 6:30. I had my appetizer, main course, and dessert. I had eaten and was done by like 6:40, and I went up on deck for one of my favorite moments on this cruise. I sat on deck 9 and watched that 24 by 14 foot screen on deck 9 and watched the Giant game with many like-minded other cruisers, and it was so much fun hanging out on deck watching the game in that kind of environment. So again, something on the Disney cruise, not just the Giant game, but that big screen out there, which is just awesome.
One other special thing, if I might mention, that we did for our cruisers, 2 of our cruisers, Masayo and Nozomi, are from Japan, and they had wanted to do something special, host a special meet, and we were going to do lunch the day we were in Nassau, and they brought yukata, which is a casual Japanese attire, to the cruise ship for myself and Steve and a number of other hosts. And we got to dress up in the traditional Japanese attire, and then we went to lunch with about 25 or 30 of the folks who were on the cruise with us, and it was a very, very special occasion, brought in by the fact, again, that we have cruisers from all over the world that join us, and Disney fans, and it was just a really special lunch.
It was wonderful, even cruising with Masayo and Nozomi. I mean, they're fun. You can just see it in their eyes whenever they're at Disney, and they just seem to be elated the whole cruise, and I think it perked everybody's spirits up just being around them.
Yeah, and we met so many great people. I almost hate to mention specifically, but you're right, they were wonderful, and it was wonderful that I was able to come to that lunch and see all of you dressed up like that, and to see them. Steve, you looked handsome and ravishing as always with your black socks and dress shoes, which was priceless. But they were, Masayo and Nozomi were wonderful, because you're right, they are just so genuine and sincere. They spent time sitting down with my kids and with other kids, teaching them how to do origami and bringing them origami to my room. And it's just that sort of special thing that I get, like we talked about before, with the people and the relationships that you find on these kind of cruises. Absolutely.
It was they're special folk, and the origami was amazing, and they dropped them off in the fish extenders, and some of them take up to 10 minutes each to make.
Yeah, and they made a ton. I don't think anybody slept on this cruise. I think people just running around doing things, dropping stuff in fish extenders, but
I think so.
I wish the cruise would have lasted another 5 days.
I know.
Much fun.
I know. We really enjoyed it. And I'll tell you, we hardly got off the ship. Other than Castaway Cay, we never got off the ship. And we had such a good time. And again, I really want to kind of do a full cruise review so people can understand just what goes on and why the cruise is so different and apart from any other cruise line, I think. But you're right, Steve. Friday came way too fast, and it was time to sort of end things. And again, Mouse Fan Travel and you guys hosted a farewell party on Studio C, which again is on Deck 5. And talk about surprises, talk about special things. Deb, this was a very special day for you, unbeknownst to most of us. Thank you very much. Why don't you tell us kind of how your afternoon started even before you walked into the farewell party, and then what happened once you got there?
Well, it was a very special day for me, and if you believe in numbers, the number 5 really hit home, because it was a 5-night cruise. Friday was September 5th. I turned 10, 5 and 5, as I joked with everyone throughout the day. I turned 55, and about 4:30, Becky and Treva, who was our Disney Cruise Line liaison person from land, came into the cabin. And I thought it was kind of odd. Not that they hadn't done that. Treva hadn't been there earlier because they were talking about lots of stuff as the cruise went on. But this was Friday afternoon and we're winding down. Everything's almost done. The weather's fine. And they're standing there and I don't even know how it happened because I just lost it. And I went back to feeling like a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old. But Becky explained to me that I was going to get to blow the ship's horn. And it's a very, very unique opportunity, a very special opportunity to be able to get on the bridge at all and then to blow the special Disney horn, which has its own unique song that it plays all the time. It was just amazing. And I know we were all crying. I was jumping up and down and clapping and didn't know whether to laugh or cry or what to do. And apparently this had been planned for quite a long time, and it was touch and go because of the weather until the very end. But I got to go on the bridge and I got to blow the horn, and I was so excited I forgot to take my finger off the button, so the horn blew twice. And we have lots of really neat pictures and video from that, and it was just, I'm getting tears in my eyes again. It was just a very, very special thing.
But wait, there's more.
There is more. And so I knew from there we were going straight to the farewell party. But what I didn't know was that Becky had transformed the farewell party into a farewell birthday party at the same time. And so I walk in and people are taking pictures, and apparently everybody in the room knew where I had been and that I had gotten to blow the horn. And you're right, Lou, what you said earlier. I really didn't tell people it was my birthday. I'm really kind of low-key about that. But throughout the day, people who knew were very kind and wishing me well. And anyway, so we get into the party and we go through everything. First, we've got this amazing, amazing sheet cake that has the allears.net logo on it and sharing the magic worldwide, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful representation of the logo. And on top of that, the cake actually tasted fantastic. And then there still was more, because here I thought everything was done and then we were just going to award our prizes for the doors and everything. And then Becky called me back on stage, and I don't even know what word she said, honestly, but then I noticed people were looking at the door, so I start looking at the door, and then it dawns on me maybe a character's coming in, but never in my wildest dreams did I think that Captain Mickey was going to come in and get on stage with me and wish me a happy birthday. And again, I just started crying and smiling, and it was... I could not have, as a Disney person, I could not ask for a better birthday than I had. It was just amazing, and I know it took a lot of work and effort on Annette and Becky's part to make all those things happen. And then Captain Mickey stayed for about 20 minutes or so that everybody in our group got to take pictures with him. And what was really cool about that, not just watching everybody smile and their faces light up, but there were several people on the cruise, because of different physical challenges, didn't want to be waiting in line for character photos. And so the whole time they would go by the character meet and greets, but not wait for a picture. And here they got the opportunity to have their picture with none other than Captain Mickey. So it was a perfect ending to an amazing cruise.
Watching Deb come into Studio C at the beginning of the farewell party was priceless. Just to see the look on her face, it was great.
And and that's it. I mean, that kind of moment encapsulates the whole thing, because it's a testament to your reaction. Is everybody being a kid again when you're on board, and you don't have to travel with kids or be a kid. You can go by yourself on the cruise and enjoy hugging Mickey. I mean, I know how I felt when I hugged Belle and when security finally had to pull me off, but I mean, that's what these kind of cruises are all about. And whether you travel in a group or you travel individually, they truly are such special occasions and special events. And like I keep saying, I really want to cover the cruise line and how it ties into your Walt Disney World vacation on a separate thing. But I have to thank you guys, not just for coming on, but for really making this cruise so very special and so truly memorable for me and my wife and my kids.
I'm so glad you were there, Lou. That was an extra bonus.
It was a big bonus. Yes.
And it's just now I don't have any words anymore because I'm still thinking of bringing the horn and everything. But Steve, I'll let you wrap up.
No, it was a very special week that I'll never forget, and hopefully maybe someday we'll do it again.
Absolutely.
That would be awesome.
Absolutely. So guys, thank you again. Of course, I sure you know already, but to find out more about Deb and all that she does, sort of the de facto guide to everything Walt Disney World, you can visit allears.net. Steve, Dr. Hidden Mickey, is of course over at hiddenmickeysguide.com. Thank you again for the cruise. Thanks for coming on. I look forward to seeing you guys down in the parks again soon.
Thanks so much, Lou. Steve,
thank you, Lou.
Thank you.
Everyone, listen. It is time.
I'm Kathy Adams, and I am the Ultimate Adventurer.
I'm Jeff DeBoer, and I'm the Ultimate Adventurer.
I'm Ashley Ray Fisher, and I'm the Ultimate Adventurer.
Well, this is it. Welcome to the third and final round of the Adventureland Challenge contest. Since early July, thousands of you have entered, played, and voted, and it now comes down to three. Three Walt Disney World fans who are vying for the coveted title of the Ultimate Adventurer, and more importantly, the VIP Walt Disney World Vacation for Four that includes 6 days, 5 nights at a deluxe Walt Disney World resort, concierge access, Magic Your Way park hoppers for 6 days, Disney's dining plan, $1,000 American Express gift card, private transportation to and from the airport, private dinner with me, personal pre-arrival planning with Mouse Fan Travel, lots of special VIP treatment and surprises, an iPod Nano, a digital camera, a gift package, and so much more. The second and third place finishers, they get a great prize too. Each of them is going to get a 4-night stay at an all-star vacation home, 2 4-day park hopper passes, an iPod Nano, a $50 Disney gift card, and really what everybody's playing for is the DisneyWorldTrivia.com gift pack. These prizes and the entire contest could not have happened without the help and the support from my sponsors. I want to say a big thanks to Mouse Fan Travel, All-Star Vacation Homes, and of course Steve Barrett from HiddenMickeysGuide.com. But this week, this is your chance to meet and get to know the contestants, because then you're going to have a chance to go to our website at WDWRadio.com. You can vote once per 24-hour period for the person that you think deserves to be the ultimate adventurer. Voting is going to begin on September 15th. It's going to end at 11:59 Eastern on September 21st. And then I'm going to announce the winner on our September 28th show. So I'm going to bring on each finalist individually and in no particular order other than alphabetized by last name and ask them a series of the same questions. And then it's up to you to help make their dream come true. So you ready? Here we go. Okay, so here is our first of the Adventureland Challenge finalists, going in alphabetical order only. And why don't you tell us your name and where you're from?
My name is Kathy Adams, and I'm from a small town named Ellington, Connecticut.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on making it to the third and now final round. This is definitely the exciting part. You are a winner nonetheless, as you know, but why don't you go ahead and tell us, obviously round 2, we had the caption contest. That's what got you here. Tell us what your round 2 caption was for the picture from the Jungle Cruise.
My caption was, "Quit fooling around and help me find that darned cricket. If I hear When You Wish Upon a Star one more time, I'll go ape."
See, it's always great to hear it from the person that wrote it directly, so you can get the proper inflection. So, Kathy, just so we can kind of get to know you a little bit better, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your family?
Here in Connecticut, I am a music teacher at a primary school. I teach kids ages 3 to 8. I absolutely love my job, and it's the best thing in the world for me. I love working with the little kids. I think that's the best thing about my job. But the most important part of my existence is my family. I've got 2 little girls. One is sitting right here with me, and she's going to help me tell you about our family. So, Miss Julie, what's your name?
Juliana Adams.
And how old are you?
5 years old.
And what's your sister's name?
Katie.
And how old is she?
3.
And what grade did you just start?
Kindergarten.
You started kindergarten. Mm-hmm. And what do you like to do at kindergarten?
I like to do everything.
Everything? What's your favorite thing to do?
Have Daddy as my music teacher.
Yeah. My husband works as an elementary music teacher too, and he's at my daughter's school, so she gets Daddy as a music teacher. We go to Disney World. What do you want to do? Who would you like to meet?
I would like to meet Lightning McQueen.
Lightning McQueen? You want to get your picture taken with him? And what about your sister? What do you think she would like to do?
She would like to meet all the princesses.
All the princesses? What do you think's her favorite?
I think all of them are.
All of them? Well, if we could pick one, which one do you think?
I think she would like Ariel.
Ariel? What do you think she'd do if she met Ariel?
She'd go, wow.
Okay. Well, thank you, Miss Julie. You can go upstairs, okay?
Why?
All right.
I don't want to.
Well, you can tell she's a little bit of a ham like her mother. And my husband's also a composer. He does some composition for recorders for school. He's got 2 publications out right now, actually. So that's
awesome.
us.
Excellent. So, obviously, you're a Disney fan. Why don't you tell us about your first trip to Walt Disney World, unless it was when you were like 2 months old? Maybe tell us about the first one that you remember.
Yeah, actually, my first trip was when I was 2 years old. I called my mom last night and asked her about it. She said, 1975 was the first time we went, because my grandparents lived down in Mount Dora, which is about an hour away from Orlando, and that was the only vacation we would ever take. We would drive down from New York, upstate New York, and we would stay with them in February. And my father was a general contractor, so he didn't take much time off. We didn't get to see him a lot at all because he did a lot of work and didn't get a lot of downtime. So the only time we actually got to spend some fun time with him was when we went to the Magic Kingdom, because that was the only thing there. And I just remember that so vividly. Recent trips, my in-laws live in Tampa, so not every summer, but as often as we can, we go down to see them. And our trips to Disney are usually 2 days. We don't get a lot of time there. We decided that in 2008 we were going to do a big trip. And this year, it turns out we couldn't make it, so we've actually pushed it back to 2009, and that's going to be our very first long trip ever. Even our honeymoon was only 3 days long, and we stayed at All-Star Music, So this is going to be this is the big trip we want to take. We're already saving our pennies. I already told the kids we're going next year.
Awesome. How many times do you think maybe you've been to Disney total since those early 70s?
It's hard to know because a lot of the trips I don't remember, and I didn't ask my mom how many times we went. We've done 15 days in the park total in my life. Okay. I'm not sure. So,
all right.
Something like that.
Well, all right, let's say you're sitting there in Connecticut and you can be magically whisked away to Walt Disney World, but only for an hour. And you've got 1 hour to spend in Walt Disney World. How or where would you spend it?
That's tough. That's a really hard question. Let's see. First, with the kids, they would have to be there. We'd go to PhilharMagic, and because that's my absolute favorite thing. I love that one. I love the way they mixed the old classics and the new classics. They're just, it's priceless. And then when Tinkerbell comes on the screen and you hear the whole crowd just go, oh, it's so cool. Anyway, so we're going to PhilharMagic, and then we're going to get an ice cream cookie sandwich from the Main Street Bakery. And then we're going to sit and watch Wishes because the girls have not seen the fireworks yet. And I cannot wait to see their faces when they see the castle light up. I was going to be, I can't wait.
I'm sure. And I'm happy that you included food in that hour. So it's very important.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, I was thinking of saying that we should do a, round world showcase, eat around the world. But I don't think I can stomach any maple syrup.
That's all right. I would probably take Wishes over that too, especially having taken my kids. I know what that expression is like. So, but let me ask you this: when you do go down, or when you've gone down, do you ever find yourself, whether you're in line or walking around the parks, kind of doing what I ask people to do, or if you've heard segments on the show before, either looking around, looking up, or maybe even looking for hidden Mickeys when you're around?
Oh, absolutely. Especially when your 3-year-old wants to go on It's a Small World for the third time. And you've seen the ride before, so it's time to start looking for some interesting things. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, there's a funny story. My brother and I had a bet to see who was going to get married first. And it happened that I won the bet. I got married first. And the winner of the bet was going to have their apartment cleaned by the loser during their honeymoon. So we come back from our honeymoon and find out that my brother has hidden his own little hidden Mickeys. He made these tiny little pieces of paper with with Mickey heads on them and spread them over our apartment. And I kid you not, I'm still finding them to this day, even though we moved out of that apartment. So thank you, brother. I hope you're listening.
Now let's say if you're down and maybe you take some friends or first timer to Disney, is there one kind of hidden Mickey that you just think is just really cool, or the one that you just got to go see?
My absolute favorite is the one, there's a green moss Mickey head on the Tree of Life. That's my absolute favorite because you have to get up really close to see it. And those trails, they're not marked really well, and so many people don't know about them. And we happened to stumble on them one day, and it was just, that's my absolute favorite place to go. Okay.
Now, I'm sure that because you're a big fan, and I'm sure friends and family know it, people come to you and ask you, about planning their trip to Disney. And maybe what's that one best piece of advice that you can give to somebody that's never been before, and maybe they're just thinking about it or they're just starting to plan their first trip?
Well, I actually had this happen to me. One of my husband's colleagues called me up and said they were going to Disney. Their kids were ready. And the very first thing I told her was, you got to do your research. That's number one. And there's three things that you can count on when you're looking for good research. And the first is a good guidebook. And I hear that the unofficial guide has some pretty good touring plans. Ding! And I also love to go on the internet. I mean, the Disney community online is just so helpful. There's so many discussion boards like Disney World Trivia, and All Ears has the menus and any kind of information you would ever want. And of course, the third thing you need absolutely is a Disney travel agent.
Awesome. All good tips. Now, I'm going to bring it to the other side of the spectrum and say, you've been to the parks before, you like doing hidden Mickeys, you're clearly a fan. What do you think maybe is that one best tip or trick, or as I like to call them, those hidden treasures that you can give to somebody that says, you know what, Kathy, I've been there. I've ridden all the rides. I've seen it all. I've done it all. What's that one little thing that you can give them, that one sort of gem that they have to go and find or do?
Well, the rides are the same every time you go down there, pretty much. You get a new one every once now and then. But the thing that really changes, that you can really draw on, is the cast members and the guests. Every time you go, you're going to meet somebody different. And I love talking to the cast members or to fellow guests who are standing in line. You're waiting for mission space, and start talking to somebody behind you. What did you do? Where are you from? And my favorite cast members to talk to, since I'm a vocalist, are the voices of. I see their show, I end up in tears, of course. They're just fantastic. And the other guy I like to talk to is the ragtime piano player by Casey's. That guy's amazing. He can play just about anything. And my husband plays piano, and he tries to do some ragtime. And every time we go down there, we talk to him and we say, okay, here, go ahead, try this one. And he can play it. Every single time we've asked him, he can play whatever he can. So my tip would be to talk to all the cast members, and even to go the extra mile and try and make another guest's trip even better. Sort of be like the unofficial Dream Squad. I'm always handing out pins to kids and, taking pictures for other people. It's just that little extra magic that I think Walt would want.
Absolutely. And that's a great tip about John, the piano player, or one of the piano players over by Casey. He truly is a hidden treasure. But, okay, you obviously love Walt Disney World, and that's where you want to go, and that's where you're planning on going next. But we're talking about being the ultimate adventurer, and let me ask you this. Maybe outside of a trip to Walt Disney World, what kind of experience or what sort of destination or excursion do you think would kind of be your ultimate adventure?
I thought long and hard on this one, and what I really would like to do is to get away from everything. I love my life. I love where we are. I love the people and all the opportunities that we have, but it would be so neat to go somewhere where everything is totally different. So I chose Ghana in Africa as my adventure, to be able to go there and just discover a totally different culture, and not just to stay in, the main areas, the cities, to go out and really, if possible, live with one of the tribes and hear their music and see their rituals and activities that they need to do. I think that would be really eye-opening, just to see how other people live.
Okay, great. So this is it. This is the final question for you, and it's sort of the all-encompassing one. And this is your chance, Kathy, to tell us, why is Kathy Adams the ultimate adventurer?
Okay, no pressure here.
No pressure.
This is another one that I thought about for a long time, and I think just the way that my life is right now, I've really started to get to the point where I really can try new things. Being a parent really started that for me, I think. That, when you have kids, you really have to stretch yourself. You really have to be a good role model for your kids. I really started pushing myself and adventuring, if you will, into other things. I started running. I'm actually training for a 10K right now, and I'm hoping to do the Disney Half Marathon in 2013, giving myself plenty of time, even though it seems impossible right now. But, then last year my first 5K seemed impossible. So, it's going to be a long road, but that's another thing you learn when you're a parent, is perseverance. And then my job is another thing that just keeps me going. It's not just about teaching music, too. It's teaching them how to be good members of the community and how to treat each other well. I'm trying something new this year. I'm setting up a week of random acts of kindness at my school. We're going to be doing this in April, and the kids are going to submit all of their random acts of kindness that they do for the week, and we're going to invite the parents to that too, and local community organizations to make a long list of all of the random acts of kindness that happen during the week. I'm also talking to some sponsors and some organizations in the community to put funds toward each random act of kindness, and then we're going to give those funds to charity. Most likely, we're going to do it through Make-A-Wish, because I want the children in the school to see how far-reaching this can be. It's such an easy thing to do. It's an easy way to, well, not to sound corny, but to make the world a better place, just one little thing at a time. And I was really inspired by the Dream Squad. So I guess I'm the ultimate adventurer, because an adventurer is someone who takes risks and does things that they're not sure of. They just start hacking right through the jungle. And I think I do that. And if you find me worthy, then please vote.
Awesome. Well, Kathy Adams, again, congratulations for making it to the final round. I appreciate your support and listening, and good luck in the final round of voting.
And I have to add one more thing. I cannot leave without saying this. I have to thank all of the people that voted for me in the second round, all of the friends, all of my family, all of the people from the online Disney community. I am sincerely grateful for your support.
Great. Thank you. All right, let's move on to our next contestant for the final round of the Adventureland Challenge contest. Why don't you guys tell us your name and where you're from?
Hey, everybody. I'm Jeff DeBoer. I'm from Crown Point, Indiana. It's about an hour southeast of Chicago.
Excellent. Jeff, congratulations, like I said, to making it to the third and now the final round. Why don't you remind us what your caption was for round two? We had the picture of the Jungle Cruise, the overturned camp with the gorillas, and tell us what your caption was.
Sure. My caption was Savannah Room at the Animal Kingdom Lodge, $500. Rental car, $150. Bell Services monkeying around with your new luggage, magical.
There you go. It's always great to hear it from the person that created it. So we're going to ask you a couple of questions just so people can first get to know you a little bit better. And obviously the first one I'd like to ask you is maybe just tell us a little bit about you, maybe a little bit about your family.
Sure. I come from a family of 5. I'm the youngest of 3 siblings. I got 2 older sisters who live various parts of the country, one in Washington State and the other down in Georgia. So we get to see them at least once or twice a year. So my one sister actually met my brother-in-law while she was in the college program. So they met while working at Disney World. And so we're kind of a Disney family all the way along. And then about 2 years ago, I married my wife, Kristen, and we met while we were doing community theater in high school. It was actually the summer before we left for college, and we went away to college and lost touch for about 4 years. Wow. And then we graduated, moved home, and started dating actually while doing another show. And we dated for a couple years, and we actually had the opportunity to be in one of the first community theater productions of Beauty and the Beast, the Disney musical. And I was playing Gaston, and she was playing one of the silly girls who follows Gaston around. And I thought, well, what better time to to propose to her than while we're in a Disney show? So I won't go into all the details, but I got her to the Opera House where we had the show, and she walked into the theater, and I was on stage lit by a single spotlight and all that corny stuff, and I was down on one knee, and 2 years later we were married on the same stage, and we honeymooned at Disney World. So
wow, that's great. And that's a nice story too. It's nice that you have the Disney connection in there with your wedding.
Yeah, we definitely share the Disney connection.
Well, obviously you're a Disney fan, obviously a Walt Disney World fan. Tell us about your first trip to Disney, or maybe sort of that first trip that you remember if you were really, really young.
Sure, and actually, my first trip to Disney World is actually one of the earliest memories that I do have. It was in 1983, I believe, and it was a family trip. We went down and we stayed at the Fort Wilderness Resort. We had a small pop-up camper, and so with 5 of us, the quarters were a little bit tight, but we got along and made it work. So. But actually, one of the, like I said, the earliest memories that I have is actually at River Country there that was connected to the Fort Wilderness Resort, and I was in the pool. I had a little toy boat that I think we probably bought from the gift shop or something, and I was sitting there and playing with it and at River Country. And when your podcast not too long ago, you had done a segment on River Country, and so I thought, wow, where are all of our old pictures and stuff? So it spurred me to go to my mom and dad's house and look at all of our vacation pictures, and sure enough, there's a picture of me at River Country with my boat and my sister and smiling from ear to ear. So like I said, I've been a Disney fan for a long time. It was ingrained in me from the beginning. So
awesome. Well, it's nice to know that it started off early and it still continues. How many times do you think you've been to Disney through the years?
Boy, probably 3 or 4 before we got married, and we've been lucky enough to be able to go a couple times since we've been married. I actually am a former college program participant as well. So if you count those, that was about 10 years ago, and so it's been a while since I had been there.
If I could ask, where'd you work when you were in the CP?
Sure. Actually, I worked at the Boneyard in the Animal Kingdom. As a paleontologist in the boneyard, so it was a lot of fun. You get paid to come to work and be at a playground and play with kids and all that stuff. So it was a pretty good gig.
Cool. Now, obviously, you've been to Disney a number of times. Like you said, you work there, so you know a lot about it. You've seen it through the years. But if you just had 1 hour, if you could sort of magically be transported from where you're sitting right now or sitting at work, and you had 1 hour to spend in Walt Disney World, how or where would you spend it?
Well, it's hard. None of us want to spend only an hour at Disney World, but I think you have to go to Magic Kingdom. It's the quintessential Disney World image that everyone has, and I think the first thing that I would do is I would make a straight line to Casey's and get a hot dog and cheese fries and a Coke. That's the first meal that I always have whenever I've gone, and it's usually the last meal that I always have when I leave. So that would be the first thing that I would do, and I would try and eat that as quickly as possible. And then probably head over to Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion, which are two of our favorite attractions. And depending on how long the lines were, we'd maybe try and hit Splash Mountain and, of course, grab a Dole Whip on the way out. So.
Cool. Well, you start off with food, which is how I normally start my trip. So I was with you at that point as well.
Yeah. Well, and if we only had an hour, if I could choose when the hour would be, I'd probably try and make it near the end of the day so that maybe Wishes was going on as I was leaving. So.
Okay. All right. So, again, having been to the parks so many times, you've probably seen a lot and done a lot. And, I always talk about doing other things sort of to enhance the vacation or to take your time. And one of the things we talk about on the show is hidden Mickeys. And do you ever, when you go to the parks, you find yourself hunting for hidden Mickeys? And if so, if you do, and could only, you're taking a friend with you or a first timer with you, where would you go to maybe show him or her your favorite or some of the best hidden Mickeys?
Sure. Well, I have to say, in the interest of full disclosure, I was technically a contributor to Steve's Hidden Mickey Guide. When I was working at the Boneyard, I actually left my own little mark on Disney World. That was, like I said, back in '99, and that was when they still had the Fossil Prep Lab with Sue the dinosaur, and they had Dinosaur Jubilee and all of that. And those two locations were technically part of our rotation. So we knew the scientists fairly well. We would talk to them every so often, and they'd let us come in and look at the dinosaur and all that stuff, which was pretty neat. Well, it was one of our last days, and my friends and I decided, well, this has been fun, but we want to, leave something behind. So we went to the Fossil Prep Lab and asked them if they had any super glue. Well, they did, and they gave it to us. So after the park had closed, I actually hopped the fence. I don't know if you're familiar with the Boneyard at all.
Right.
But up on the second level in the back of the playground, there's actually a little scene with a picnic table and a bag of McDonald's and some other various things sitting around. So I actually hopped the fence and super glued a quarter, a penny, and a dime in the shape of a Mickey head and that actually ended up making it into the guide, and so that's my little claim to fame.
Now, do you know, is it still there? Do you know?
It is.
Wow.
It is still there, and so that would definitely be one that I would take them and show them. Another one that actually isn't in the guide, that I've only seen once, is actually at the bottom of the dig, also in the boneyard. They've got the woolly mammoth dig. And if you dig all the way to the bottom, on the floor of the dig, there's actually a Mickey, like a fossil, in the bottom of the dig there. So that'd be a pretty neat one. That one takes a little bit of time to find, but
that's all part of the fun. That's all part of the fun is the hunt itself.
The search. That's right. But I think one of my favorites is for sure the middle of the studios. I guess it's technically not there anymore, but when they first designed the studios, how it was laid out like a Mickey head or a Mickey face, with the Echo Lake being one of the ears, and when they did Sunset Boulevard, they kind of scrapped that idea, and now the hat has kind of taken away from that as well. But that's definitely one of my favorites that a lot of people don't see right away.
Yeah, and if you still look at the guide maps, you can kind of get a sense of where it was, but the planters that were the eyes, I know, are now gone, and like you said, Sunset Boulevard sort of obscures what it once was. But yeah, that was a very cool hidden Mickey that obviously you can only see by looking at the map, really. Right.
Little did they know that we would have Google Maps and all that we can look at satellite images as readily, but
exactly.
They thought they were pretty slick at the time.
All right, so you've obviously been, a ton of times, and having worked there, you're very familiar and have probably been asked to give advice to people once, who are planning trips before. But what do you think that best piece of advice is that you can give to somebody that's never been before? They've never gone to Disney. They're thinking about going, or they're planning their trip. Just that one bit of advice you could give them.
Sure. You mentioned that I'd been there tons of times, and I guess technically that's true. But I truly feel that Disney World is what you make of it. You'll miss out so much if all you're interested in is the attractions, and like you guys always say, look up and look at all the extra things and all the little details. And while that's true, even without looking at all the details, I know people who don't even like Disney World because it's not a thrill park or whatever. But if you truly look at it through the eyes of a child, you'll see so much more. When my wife and I were on our honeymoon, we were at the Magic Kingdom for extra magic hours in the evening, and we were doing all of the Fantasyland rides because, like I said, it was in the evening extra magic hours, so a lot of the children had gone home, so the lines were short, and it was at night, and there's always a little bit of a magical feel in Fantasyland at that point. So we decided, well, we'll go on It's a Small World. It's not our favorite ride. The song can get a little annoying, but it's a staple, and we felt like it was something that we should do. So we sat down, and we were pretty excited. We thought that it was we were going to have the boat to ourselves, and it was going to be a nice romantic ride through the attraction. Well, just before we were getting ready to pull out of the station, a man in his early to mid 30s came and sat down in front of us, and we were kind of disappointed here. We thought that it was going to be a special thing for us. Well, it didn't take us long to realize that the man actually had special needs of some kind. And as soon as we turned that first corner, to this day, I can see just the wonder and the amazement, and just the look on his face was just, it still gets me today, because here we are, I guess we'll go on it. But this man was just, he couldn't see everything. He just couldn't see everything fast enough. He was just, his head was on a swivel, and if you look at it from almost a child's perspective, and just look at it as, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm sorry. Just looking at it in a different way, it's absolutely what you make of it. And this place is so wonderful. And like I said, if you look at it from a child's point of view, the perfect example is the Cinderella fountain behind Cinderella's castle. She's sitting there with the animals around her, and any adult would walk by and say, oh, that's a nice fountain. Well, if you crouch down and you look at it from a child's perspective, you can see that there's a crown painted behind the statue. And if you're down at a child's point of view, that crown is sitting perfectly on Cinderella's head. And so there's so much more to it, even more than the details, that so many of us don't appreciate. And that was something that really opened our eyes. And I would just say, it's what you make of it.
Okay. Now, you pointed to the crown on Cinderella's head over the fountain, which is one of the things that I consider to be one of those hidden treasures, the things that people walk by and don't pay attention to, and those beautiful details that the Imagineers take so much time and care to put in. And that's why I do tell people to slow down and explore and look up and, yes, look down and look at garbage cans or whatever it is. So let's look, we talk about the first-time visitor. What about the guy or the family or the couple that says, you know what, we've been there 100 times. We've seen it all. We've done it all. What do you think your best tip or trick or hidden treasure like that is, something that you can give somebody that says, I've been there and I've seen everything?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to read some of this. I actually had written this on a blog that I have, journal kind of a site, and it's actually has to do with the partner statue. And it's a story that was told to me during my traditions, and it just, there's so much more to it. And like I said, I'll read some of this here. Obviously, a tribute to Walt, the sculpture has so much more meaning than most would notice. There are many stories as to what Walt is pointing to. He's welcoming guests into his park or whatever, but here's a particular touching interpretation that I was told during my training. Being an artist of sorts myself, you need to understand the mindset of an artist. You create everything from scratch, and therefore most of what was done on the sculpture, in my opinion, was done for a specific reason. Take, for example, the tie tack that Walt is wearing. While at first glance it may look like an insignia or an Asian character of sorts, it's actually a monogram of the letters STR, which stands for Smoke Tree Ranch. It's a very private resort, membership by recommendation of a committee only, and when Walt asked to become a homeowner on Smoke Tree Ranch, the current owners were wary of such a Hollywood type invading their exclusive hideaway. So to prove his love of the ranch, Disney had his designers design and build 3 cottages on the ranch, and they finally let him join. Walt was a dedicated neighbor and was often seen wearing that on his tie clip. And it would have been very easy to leave this detail off, but Blaine Gibson decided to include it. And you ask yourself why. And we'll get to that later. The partner sculpture was not a quote-unquote complete sculpture on its own. It requires the Sharing the Magic sculpture up front near the entrance to be considered complete. Both sculptures were created, like I said, by Blaine Gibson, and Blaine Gibson, as I'm sure a lot of your listeners know, was an Imagineer for Walt who sculpted everything from the pirates in Pirates of the Caribbean to every president in the Hall of Presidents and things like that. And the partner statue was created and given to the Magic Kingdom in 1995, and at that time he said it was not a finished sculpture. In 1999, the Roy and Minnie sculpture was added to the entrance of the Magic Kingdom, and he said then the sculpture was officially finished. But if you look at the Roy and Minnie statue, you notice that there's an empty seat there. Well, why wouldn't Blaine have used the whole bench instead of leaving an empty seat? Again, everything happens for a reason, or everything is designed for a reason. Well, if you remember, Walt died before Disney World opened. And when he died, it was up to his brother Roy to continue on with the project. Roy even went so far as to have the park renamed Walt Disney World so everyone would know whose dream had built the park. On opening day in 1971, on the very spot where the Roy and Minnie statue now stands, Roy stepped up to the podium to give the dedication. He was seen leaning over to ask someone something, and a few minutes later, Mickey Mouse came to stand next to him. Roy was said to have said that if he couldn't be standing by Walt's side, he wanted Mickey to be standing by his side. Therefore, Walt is holding Mickey's hand, telling him he's taken him as far as he can take him, and as far as he can go on this journey. But Roy and Minnie have saved a seat for you on the bench up front, as he points in that direction, letting him know it'll be alright. So Walt stands at the end of Main Street, keeping a tie to the past, with a tie clip, holding on to his dreams, holding Mickey's hand, and looking towards the future, where Roy sits, ready to take on his brother's dreams.
Excellent.
That to me explains everything.
Now, based on what you said before, I thought you were going to say he was pointing to Casey's, where you like to go and get your hot dog. But
well, that might be true too.
See, Mickey, go right over there and get Casey's, have a seat, and watch Wishes.
That's right. It's a very long answer for a simple question, but it's absolutely one of my favorite Disney stories and one of my favorite Disney details that I think, again, we all love the partner statue, but there's so much more to it.
Absolutely. And like you said, there's meaning and there's story behind everything. But I'm gonna take you away from Walt Disney World just for a second with this question, because maybe outside of a trip to Walt Disney World, we talk about you being the ultimate adventurer. Where else do you think, or what type of experience or what type of excursion would you like to kind of be your ideal, quote-unquote, ultimate adventure?
Sure. I would probably have to say New York. As I said before, my wife and I do a lot of theater. We actually do some directing in some community theaters as well. And the hustle and bustle and the energy of New York City, we actually went for our 1-year anniversary, for our first anniversary, and just had a blast. And we went and saw shows on Broadway, and stayed in a hotel that was on the north, or I guess upper west side. Mm-hmm. And so I would say New York City. I love the energy about the city, and the fact that the World's Fair, where Walt had so many of his first ideas for Disneyland, all happened in New York, and I think it's just got a great energy to it. And I've only been once, but I loved it.
All right, well, I'm saving the big question for last, so you can kind of guess what's coming. But, Jeff, go ahead and tell us why you are the ultimate adventurer.
Well, I want to put a disclaimer out there. It's going to be a little bit hokey, but I truly feel that life is an adventure, and it's like Walt Disney World. It's really what you make of it, and I try and make the most out of every day. And I don't know if you're familiar with the late Randy Pausch, who did the Last Lecture book, and that man had an amazing outlook on life, and he truly got it. And I think that life is what you make out of it, just like Disney World. And you try and live your life the best that you can, and try and make your life the adventure.
Awesome, excellent. Well, Jeff DeBoer, congratulations on making it this far. Congratulations on making it to the final round. And I really appreciate you playing and listening, and I wish you best of luck as voting begins.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, and on to our next contestant. Go ahead and tell us your name and where you're from.
My name is Ashley Fisher, and I'm from Langhorne, Pennsylvania, but during the school season, I live in upstate New York at Ithaca College. Great. As an integrated marketing communications major.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on making this far, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lou. I'm really excited to be here.
Great. Well, I'm excited to have you. So let's just start off. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about maybe your family?
So, like I said, I'm an integrated marketing communications major at Ithaca College, which means mainly advertising and public relations is my concentrations. And this summer, I worked 7 days a week as a receptionist at a real estate agency, which is kind of where my caption comes from. And I also was an intern at a recruitment advertising agency. So, very busy. And now I have a full course load. I'm the marketing director for 2 on-campus activities. I take voice lessons, have a part-time job, and I'm also producing a show with my best friends, Hedwig and the Angry Inch. So it's really exciting. It's a lot of things that I'm doing, and I would call myself an Eeyore enthusiast. I've recently really gone into eBay and the Eeyore possibilities there. And for my future, I'm hoping to one day land a professional internship at Disney and work with them in their special events, such as the Food and Wine Festival, the things that go on all the time. I live with my mom and stepdad, John, who just got married last December, even though they've been together for 10 years. She has finally let it happen. And I am the youngest of three. both two sisters. My youngest sister's 8 years older than me, and my oldest sister 18, so she could pretty much be my mother. And I have 5 nieces and nephews who I'm closer in age with, and we all live on the same street because they can't handle to be apart from each other. And while I'm at school, I'm with my boyfriend Andy, who's a piano major here at Ithaca, and our 1 year's actually coming up on September 29th, which is the day after the contest is announced, so it would be a pretty great anniversary present. And as far as my family goes, we're really close. Like I said, we live on the same street, and we each have our own Disney character, is kind of how we would describe ourselves. My mother's Jiminy. I'm Eeyore. Andy's now becoming the Nemo Seagulls. And my sister Jackie is Ariel. So, that's pretty much us.
Ashley, obviously round 2 was when you had to create a caption for the picture that we had of the Jungle Cruise Camp. Why don't you go ahead and remind us what your caption was?
Well, I definitely used my work this summer, and my caption was, "Perfect for the adventurer at heart. This home features a river view, spacious rooms with cathedral ceilings, detached garage, and intimate interactions with fascinating wildlife."
Well, you're obviously a big Disney fan, obviously probably a Walt Disney World fan. Tell us about your very first trip to Walt Disney World, if you remember it, and who you went with.
So this is really hard because I'm very young, and my first trip, depends how technical you want to get, I was either in my mother's belly or I was 7 months old, which was August 1989. And I went with my 2 sisters and my father and mother. And the only videos that I've ever seen of it is my mother and 2 sisters, while holding me, singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow from The Wizard of Oz in the recording studio in MGM. I'm not really sure how that works out, but I've seen like the actual videos of it. And I'm not sure what attraction it actually was. And I'm sure it's not there now.
So that's not the first trip what about the first trip that you remember going on?
Okay, that would probably be, I want to say I'm probably around 7 years old, and it's during the Easter parade. I remember it because my dad was really into sitting around for the parades for hours until they came, so we had the best spot. And for the Easter parade, I guess it was pretty big back then. And I was sitting in my stroller, and it was very hot, and all of a sudden, I wake up to water being splashed on me because I had passed out because we were outside for too long. And it was just pretty much everybody freaking out because they didn't know what to do, and then I just woke up because I was sleeping. So that's the one that I can definitely remember the most. Past that would be more recent ones.
How many times do you think you've been to Disney World since then? Since the belly time, how many times?
Since the belly time, probably about 28 times. It's just our vacation spot. We don't go anywhere else, except for maybe the Jersey Shore once a year.
Which is just like Walt Disney World.
It's the same. It's cigarettes in the sand.
Right. Coming from Jersey, I can say that. So, all right. So you've gone to Disney a number of times, and you obviously love it. If you had just 1 hour, all right, you can be transported from Ithaca down to Disney. You have just 1 hour to spend in Walt Disney World. How would you spend it?
All right. I'm assuming that transportation is very fast between the parks and the places I want to go. The first thing I would do is go to the Magic Kingdom. And we always search for our stones from the Walk Around the World campaign that went on. And one of them's right underneath the Magic Kingdom engraved sign on the ground underneath the O. So that's one we always take pictures with every year. And then the one ride I would visit in Magic Kingdom, saying there were no lines, and there never is for this one, is go on the Blue Line Transit Authority, because it's just one of my favorite rides, and it's the one when you're sweaty you can nap on. And then take a very fast monorail over to Chef Mickey's, not to eat, but to see our waitress, Julie. She's been with my family since before I was born, so she's just kind of an aunt who lives in Florida. And we see her once or twice every year when we go down. And she's so close that when she realized that I graduated from college, from high school, she was more of a mess than my whole family. So she's very close to us. And finally, very quick monorail over to the land in Epcot, because that's overall my favorite ride. And of course, being dragged to see the seagulls outside of Finding Nemo while I'm there. So, no lines and no transportation traffic, and that could be an hour.
Now, just real quick, you said the land was your favorite ride. Do you mean Living with the Land is your favorite ride? Or...
Living with the Land, yes, sorry.
I wasn't sure if it was the Circle of Life Theater or Soarin' or where you were going, so I just wanted to be sure.
Definitely Living with the Land.
Okay. Are you a Listen to the Land fan or a Living... never mind. But anyway, you talked about... quick question. You talked about when you get to the park, you start hunting around for your little stone. And speaking of hunting, do you ever find yourself hunting through the parks for hidden Mickeys?
Yes, but this is how it goes. When I'm looking for hidden Mickeys in the park, I'm looking more at signs and what's on the ground and the ironwork. So things that I feel are more purposefully placed there. The ones that are more obvious. I really like just seeing those ones. But my favorite hidden Mickeys in Walt Disney World would be when you're in your hotel and just at the end of your day, you're tired, and it's just those little things that show up on your bedspread and on the shower curtain and on the wall. And I even look at the tiles on the floor to think maybe they were arranged in a certain way to look like a hidden Mickey. So definitely just the bathroom Mickeys, as I would call them, would be my favorite type of hidden Mickey.
All right. Now, as somebody that's been to the parks a number of times, it sounds like you definitely know your way around. What do you think is the best single piece of advice you can give somebody that's never been to Walt Disney World and is maybe thinking about going for the first time?
When this happens, because it happens to me often, I don't know why, I definitely say that you have to realize that Disney's a full-time vacation. You can make it relaxation, but you're just there and you want to be able to do everything. So definitely realizing what time of year to go and what time of week to go to the different parks can really ease a lot of your stress. So I always say, don't go to the Magic Kingdom on the weekends, because everybody's there for their day trip. And make sure you take advantage of the extra magic hours. If you have children, maybe you'll wake them up that extra hour and take them to the park so that way you can get home earlier. Or if you're going with people who are older, taking advantage of those late in the day extra magic hours so you can kind of miss all of that younger day crowd. So I'm very organized in that type of time management way. So that's always my number one to tell people. Just make sure you realize you're going to be there a lot and that just take it as it is and just do the best with it you can. So.
All right. Well, let's go actually to the opposite end of the spectrum now and give me that one best tip or that trick or that little hidden treasure, as you know I like to call them, that you're going to give to somebody that says, you know what, I've been there before. I've been there 100 times. I've done it all. What's the one thing that you can kind of tell them that maybe they don't know about, or that little gem that or little detail?
This is actually the one thing that was told to me that I didn't know about. And it's not really being in the park so much as a way to experience it. I never knew until my friend told me that there were things like the college program and professional internships. So for people my age, I make sure that they know things like that because I want to be a part of it, and actually working in Disney World in a whole different way is a different way for me to experience it. Because I do the little things from being there so many times, and now since I'm older, I can start doing the different tours. Like I just did the behind the scenes tour the last time I was there, and that was really exciting because it was always something I wanted to do, but I finally was kind of on my own and I could do it myself, so that was really exciting. So how I extend my trips now is to do the tours, kind of those extra magic that they offer. So I do that, but besides that, I tell my friends who I suddenly find out have been there so many times, well, did you know about the college program? Did you know about the professional internships? And now they're applying to them, and everybody's just so excited about it because it's something that we're hoping will be something different that we've never done before. So.
Okay, and that actually leads me to my next question, because you said Disney World is your vacation place, and like me, that's kind of where you go. But maybe outside of a trip to Walt Disney World, What kind of experience or excursion or destination would you like to go to and kind of be your ultimate adventurer, and why? Since we're talking about, becoming the ultimate adventurer.
Since this is the Ultimate Adventureland Challenge. If I couldn't do a Disney World tour, I don't know if that's too cliched, because it's something that I've never done before, going to all of the Disney parks. Like, I've never even been to Disneyland, and I've been to Walt Disney World so many times. So, if I couldn't do that, or I couldn't do a Disney cruise, which is, again, something that I'm very jealous that you got to do, the only thing that even compares in my mind to Disney World is kind of experiencing what Epcot stands for. And I think it would be so cool to kind of go to all of the countries saying I have unlimited money, going to all of the countries in the World Showcase and kind of experiencing them on my own, and just, even though the comparison might be small, trying to see what the similarities are and how well Epcot got it. So, something like doing a tour of the World Showcase, but the real one.
Okay. And your final question, this is kind of like your, why do you want to be Miss America question. Why are you the ultimate adventurer? Besides being your best advertisement on Facebook and getting people to vote for me, definitely the sole reason, the kind of emotional reason why I really want to win the big trip is those 2 extra seats that I get. Because my mother's taken me so many times to Disney World, and it's always been her responsibility. She's had to think about getting the money, getting us there, and the things we're going to do. And being the college student that I am, there's no way that I can give her the opportunity to take the responsibility away from her and just kind of give her this post-honeymoon type adventure for her. And it just sounds so sob, but it's just a way for me to give back and show her that even if we've stayed at the Pop Century for the past 5 years because it was the only place we could stay, or that sometimes we had to drive down there because we couldn't afford to fly. So it's just having this limitless opportunity to show her the types of luxuries that she hasn't gotten to experience in Disney World in a really long time. So as much as I would love the trip, and I would be there, she and my stepdad are definitely the bigger picture here. All right, great. Excellent. Well, Ashley Ray Fisher, congratulations on making it this far. Good luck going forward. And again, it's now in the hands of the listeners. So again, congratulations. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Lou. It's been really great talking to you.
Thank you. That's it. There are your 3 finalists, Ashley Fisher, Jeff DeBoer, and Kathy Adams. Remember, voting is going to start on September 15th. It's going to end on September 21st at 11:59. You can vote once per 24-hour period. And again, I'm going to announce the winner and the 2 runners-up on our September 28th show. Thank you all again for playing. Thanks for voting. Thanks again to my sponsors, Mouse Fan Travel, All-Star Vacation Homes, and HiddenMickeysGuide.com. And I'm really excited and looking forward to crowning our very first Ultimate Adventurer. That's all the time we have this week. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I want to say thank you again for tuning in. Special thanks also to Deb Wills from allears.net and Steve Barrett from hiddenmickeysguide.com. Don't forget to come by and visit our website at wdwradio.com for show notes, links, information, old episodes, so much more. And don't forget, the voting begins for the Adventureland Challenge contest. This is the final round on September 15th It's going to end on September 21st at 11:59. You can visit our website. You'll find a link there for when and where you can vote. Remember, you can vote only once during each 24-hour period. Celebrations Magazine is almost ready to roll to the presses, but that means that you can still take advantage of the pre-publication offer over at celebrationspress.com. If you act now, you'll still be able to receive 6 issues for just $24.99. That's more than 30% off the cover price. I'll put a link in the show notes. You can go to celebrationspress.com. You can learn more or subscribe to the new magazine that I've been working on with Tim Foster from Guide to the Magic. Like I said, the first issue is coming soon. It's going to include lots of great stuff, including articles, trivia, photos, games, history, and so much more. And also, you can help be a part of the magazine. We're looking for you to submit photos for inclusion in the magazine, or if you have a question, a comment, something that you'd like to see covered, a letter to the editor, which is basically Tim or me, then you can send them to lou@wdwradio.com as well. I mentioned on last week's show all the great stuff that's going to be happening in Walt Disney World the weekend of September 26th through the 28th. There's Worldwide Weekend with WDW Celebrations, the opening of Epcot's International Food and Wine Festival, and the Expedition Everest Challenge. And there's a couple of things I want to highlight for you once again. Remember, there's going to be a special backstage tour as a paid add-on event to the WDW Celebrations event. That's going to be Thursday, September 25th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's backstage magic, but plus just a little bit. It's $225 per person, but you're going to get to see places like backstage at the American Adventure, Epcot Cast Services, the Utilidors, the Magic Kingdom Production Center. You'll see what they do to create the Disney parades all year long. The North Service Area, where you'll go to Central Shops. That's where the builders actually create what you see in the parks, from animatronics to ride vehicles and so much more. You'll go to Creative Costuming. This is one of the special things here. You're going to go backstage at Tower of Terror. There's going to be a Whispering Canyon guest speaker there. So much more, lots of surprises. Again, that's Thursday, September 25th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I've done the Backstage Magic Tour again. I'm going to be doing this one, and I'm really looking forward to it. Again, there's lots more going on that weekend, and Saturday is the Expedition Everest Challenge. And if you're going to be in the parks or in Walt Disney World, I invite you to come by for a WDW Radio / Disney World Trivia pre-marathon meet. That's going to be Saturday, the 27th at 12:30 p.m. That's going to be at the Flame Tree Barbecue in Disney's Animal Kingdom. We're going to meet in the upper level. That's the Owl and Spider Pavilions to the left of the counter area. Come by, join us for lunch. Just eat, meet, greet, whatever you want to do. Just come by and say hi. You don't need to pre-register. We made it early enough in the day, so if you are going to participate or just be a spectator at the Everest Challenge, you'll have plenty of time to get together, meet, get back, and get ready for the race. Again, that's Saturday, September 27th, 12:30 p.m. That's going to be over at the Flame Tree Barbecue over at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Speaking of which, if you are going to be a participant or even just a spectator in the inaugural Expedition Everest Challenge, we have WDW Radio Show 2008 Marathon Team t-shirts now available. We welcome anybody, whether you're just going to watch, whether you're going to run, if you want to wear a shirt before the race, during the race, or at the after-race party, come by, be a part of the inaugural event. You'll find those shirts over at cafepress.com/WDW Marathon. Of course, I'll put a link in this week's show notes. Once again, while you're at the site, don't forget you can still get a free preview of the audio guide to Main Street USA. You'll find a link on our homepage. And in the show notes, you'll also find some additional specials still going on, exclusive to the website from some of our sponsors like All Star Vacation Homes, where you can get a free rental car and $50 gas card with your 7-night stay in a 3, 4, or 5-star vacation home. Owner's Locker, you can still get $50 off the sign-up fee. And of course, Mouse Fan Travel, who always has the best prices and always has exceptional service for your Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or Disney Cruise Line vacation. And speaking of special events taking place in Walt Disney World, I know it's only September, but believe it or not, Mousefest is right around the corner. I encourage you to go check out mousefest.org. There's going to be information posted there, as well as registration is going to open this week. There will also be some additional updates posted to the site as well. I'm going to announce my meets and my events soon, I promise. I also encourage you, while you're there, to sign up for the free Mousefest newsletter. You'll find that at mousefest.org/newsletter. Again, you'll find the link on the homepage. That will let you be notified about the start of the registration process and any other news as it happens. I have a lot of exciting things planned for upcoming shows, including a few surprises. Don't forget that if you have a question that you want answered, a segment suggestion, just want to make a comment, you can always send those to me at lou@wdwradio.com. I promise in the coming weeks I'm going to get to more of your emails. And don't forget, you can always call the voicemail and be on the air at 206-202-4939. That's 206-202-4WDW. And if you want to talk about the show and interact with other listeners and like-minded Disney fans, please come by and visit the WDW Radio Show forums over at DisneyWorldTrivia.com. And as always, if you like the show, please help spread the word. Let others know about it. Review us on iTunes. Come over, say hi on Facebook. Follow my updates on Twitter. And again, I have to say a big thanks for taking the time and joining me this week. I hope you have a great week. Thank you again. See ya. I'm not going to play any voicemails at the end of the show this week. Instead, in honor of the victims and the heroes of September 11th, I want to leave you with the voices of liberty.